Up and running.
Great. Thank you everybody for joining today. I can see people are just joining the call as we start off today's session. So we'll just give it a few more moments and give some more people to join. We've had some really good registrations and attendance, so we'll just need to make sure everybody has enough time to join in. So please bear with us just for a moment longer. The numbers are creeping up. So hello to everybody who's just joined. We're just giving it a couple of moments to let more people join in the call. Appreciate if you've had a busy day, you might be going back-to-back meetings, but hopefully you've got your sandwich, your cup of tea, and we'll get going in a moment. Right, we've got quite a lot of attendees on the call already, so we'll just get started. So a big welcome to everybody from near and far. Thank you for joining IIBA UK Scotland branch meeting for August. My name is Julia Newell, I'm the chair of the branch. I'm also a lead business analyst at Scottish Widows, part of the Lloyds Banking Group. And we're delighted to have everybody here today to join us in for Capco's presentation on the future of business analysis. I'm sure it's a very hot topic, and so we've had a really high attendance. So hoping for lots of Q&As. So please use the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your screen. And you can also use the chat functionality as well. And at the end of the session, we'll go through all the Q&As and hopefully get some really good discussions going as well. So a big thank you to Sean and David for driving and setting this up. But in the meantime, I will hand you over to Sarah, who's going to do the introduction for the Capco speakers for you. So thank you for coming, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you yet again to the IIBA for having us today. So a very warm welcome to Capco's webinar on the future of business analysis, which we are hoping is a very relevant topic to this audience. So thank you for joining us today. This is the third in a series of Capco webinar sessions that we've been running as part of the partnership with the IIBA, and we look forward to doing more in the future. So just moving on to introduce the panelists. So I am Sarah O'Callaghan. I am a managing principal at Capco, part of the Scotland leadership team here in Edinburgh, and also the digital UK chief of staff at Capco as well. So I'm heavily involved in our digital agenda UK-wide. I will be moderating the session today, leading the Q&A at the end, but our main speakers today are Jonny Mowlem and Olga Karantanou. So both are heavily involved in our digital practice, so I will actually leave them to introduce themselves, but you're in very safe hands. And before that, I will just give you a little bit of, I guess, information on Capco. So for those of you that don't know us, Capco are a global management and technology consultancy, primarily focused on financial services. So we have over 5,000 people globally. I guess more relevantly, we have approximately 240 people in our Scotland office, which is Edinburgh based. You'll see in the slide there that we've had pretty rapid growth for Capco in Scotland over the past 5 years. And I guess relevant to this topic today, we have a very large digital practice UK-wide, working with clients on their digital transformation agenda, which is very much including the role of the BA and I guess business analysis and what the future looks like. So Capco are very much in and around the tech and business change space in FS, and we do also a lot of thought leadership across the industry. And just to mention that today's session is being recorded. We are going to do Q&A at the end, so if you do have any questions throughout the session, just type them in the Q&A function and we will answer them as best we can at the end. And without further ado, over to you, Jonny.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. And hi, everyone. Afternoon. Hope you're enjoying your lunchtime sandwiches. and thanks for joining. It's a real pleasure to be here again with the IIBA today for the lunchtime webinar. By way of quick introduction to myself, I'm Jonny Mowlem, a senior consultant in Capco's digital practice, based here in Edinburgh, Scotland. I see there's a few also from Edinburgh in the chat, so good to see you there. I've been with Capco for around about 3.5 years now, working across a number of financial services domains, including wealth and asset management, insurance, and life and pensions. And most of my consulting life has been spent in kind of BA or BA-esque roles, and primarily within the technology and change space. Prior to joining Capco, I was actually in quite a different field in the world of digital marketing, where I spent around 6 years in various digital marketing agencies in and around Edinburgh, and then latterly at Standard Life in the pensions and savings space, just on Lothian Road, for those of you, again, who are local. So if you ever do want to chat about social media or SEO, do get in touch. Once an SEO geek, always an SEO geek, as they say. I'm also a recent dad, so outside of work, have a 4-month-old little pterodactyl who is keeping us busy, and married to an American from Boston. Before getting into today's content, I'll just hand over to Olga to give a quick introduction as well.
Thanks, Jonny. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Olga Karantanou, and I'm a consultant in Capco's digital ways of working for a bit less than a year now, also based in Edinburgh. I have 6 years of BA experience with transformations in financial services, 3 out of which as a digital product owner on the private bank of a tier 1 international bank. Actually, it was JP Morgan on Guile, since most of us are local. And currently I'm working on the product strategy, design and client journey on the process of fully digitalizing the client onboarding of an international bank. I'm originally from Athens, Greece, and yeah, you can most probably tell from my accent. And I've been living in Scotland for the past 7 years. And that's it from me for now. And back to you, Jonny.
Cool, thanks Olga. So again, really pleased to be here to talk to everyone today about the future of business analysis, which is a fairly lofty title, I must admit. There's a lot of content out there, and today we're going to showcase the Capco view. So before getting into the presentation, I think it would be worthwhile just providing some backgrounds which can help to contextualize, how this content came about and how it formed the basis of an ongoing live engagement that we have with one of our clients in Scotland here today. So as we all know, the effects of the pandemic on organizations have been far-reaching. They've been industry agnostic. It's by no means limited to financial services, across health, public sector. And COVID has impacted every business, every industry, every sector. Across the board, we're seeing the acceleration of new ways of working initiatives and digital transformation programs at an exponential rate. And in our case, when we were approached by our clients, it was no different from them. They faced a key challenge, however, and that was their workforce. To be more specific, it was their several hundred strong business analyst community. Their focus at the time and throughout has been building a more resilient, leaner, and efficient business. And they needed support from their BA community to not only deliver the solutions that would help them to achieve these goals, but also to develop the agile decision-making frameworks to ensure the organization was moving at pace and in a sustainable fashion. They needed their BAs to shift from the traditional tactical, requirements gathering linear role, spending time solely analyzing and documenting requirements, into a more strategic one, where strategic analysis and a laser focus on customer experience, as well as a product-centric approach, was pivotal, absolutely required. So over a period of 3 weeks, the Capco team were brought in to conduct an initial assessment and provide recommendations. We did interviews, surveyed, observed, talked to the business analyst community on the ground, their teams, and other business stakeholders in order to get a better understanding of the key challenges, the pain points, and where the opportunities lay. From this, it became clear there was a significant skills gap in their BA community. Employee upskilling and reskilling was fixed, with limited scope for variation across focus areas. There was an opportunity to get exposure between different business functions. If I worked in finance, I was a BA that worked in finance, HR, etc. and growing areas such as data, digital, technology were not incorporated into the L&D plans for BAs. The freedom and flexibility to try out new things and innovate just wasn't part of the job. So with this, BAs were becoming stale. They were being reassigned to the same types of projects, and their scope for growth and moving into the realm of strategy was really quite limited. So the content that we're about to talk about was designed based on the research that we conducted and also the recommendations that we gave for how to manage these challenges effectively, whilst not only retaining the BA workforce, but also enabling them to adapt and remain relevant. So with that being said, let's have a quick look at today's agenda, and then we can get into the interesting stuff. So we're going to kick off initially with a brief overview on some of the key trends that we're seeing in terms of demand for business analysts, and then talk through the evolution of the BA, covering 4 distinct categories or pillars. We'll then discuss other key areas involving career pathways and the Capco view on how you can set your organization up for success by developing meaningful L&D programs for your BA community, as well as building that community of practice within your firm. And we're then going to wrap up, as Sarah and Julia mentioned, with some time for Q&A. So please do continue to post any of your comments or questions in the Q&A, and we'll pick those up at the end. We'll make sure to leave a good amount of time for that. There is also going to be a couple of polls throughout the session, so look out for those. And now we can start to take a look at the increasing demand that we're seeing for what we at Capco call the modern BA. So across the market, we're seeing no slowdown in the demand for those who specialize in business analysis. But what's been really particularly interesting to see over the last 5 to 10 years in particular is, as the age of Agile has taken hold, the demand for a different type of BA who can focus on strategic level thinking, has a solid understanding of the business domain and the changing environment and the ability to, collaborate effectively across all stakeholder groups, functional and technical, is growing in importance. Moving from the traditional requirements manager or documenter to a more enterprise-based strategic solution focus. Some of the key drivers behind this include an increased expectation that user experience is at the forefront of product and service design, heightened even further by the daily interaction that many of us have with the Amazons, Googles, and Zuckerberg-owned giants of the digital world. The tailored, customer data-driven experience is what we've come to expect as the norm. Across industries then, businesses are investing heavily in strategic change initiatives, bringing their processes, their platforms, and their people into the modern era. The pandemic has forced organizations to boost IT investment in digital and tech, with legacy platforms overhauled or scrapped entirely for no-code, third-party, cloud-based solutions, and single customer views created through the convergence and automation of data within the organization, which helps to optimize processes and ultimately builds for scale and enables them to constantly adapt in the future as a business. All of this is fundamentally underpinned by a desire, like our clients was, to work with more agility, to make decisions faster, reduce time to market, and deploy scaled agile frameworks through their business in order to negotiate the constant change and unrelenting complexities of the 21st century that we live in. As you can see on the right-hand side there from the LinkedIn stats shown, business analysis ranks as number 6 in the top 10 skills that companies need most based on a survey conducted earlier on this year. And what's interesting to note, actually, having looked back at previous years, is that business analysis has been in the top 10 in those years as well. But the other skills have changed quite a bit. Skills like AI, UX, and at the top there in 2020, blockchain, have seen rapid growth in terms of demand in the last few years, and yet throughout it all, the BA remains constant and at the heart of future success, playing a critical role. However, in an era of rapid technological and digital transformation, businesses are having to adapt, and business analysts do too. So let's take a look at the evolution of the BA. Throughout the years, the role of the BA has evolved, always remaining a pivotal role in any type of change activity. The widespread adoption of agile methodologies has brought about challenges as well as opportunities for the future of the role, changing the course of direction for the BA role in some ways. Most of us, particularly those of us with a few more years under our belt, will be familiar with the waterfall model, or what we at Capco would call the traditional BA. It's been around for a while with its origins in manufacturing and construction industries. And from a project and change perspective, the roles are well formed, as are the BA's responsibilities. The modern BA, or as we like to call it, the agile BA, is quite different. And it actually lends itself quite well to more of a hybrid role in many organizations, something which many might find contentious, but I think the reality is, that's the environments that we're working in today. The demands of the business require a multitude of skills beyond the kind of core business analyst assets that we're used to seeing. So where a BA can often, for example, be in that hybrid role of assistant product owner or even BA/Scrum Master. I've seen quite a lot online recently for BA/project manager, which I think is one we're probably more familiar with over the last 5 to 10 years. Olga's going to look at both of these in a bit more depth shortly. A recent quote which I saw from the IIBA actually, I thought ties in quite nicely with the BA of the future concept. And it states that business analysts may be involved in everything from defining strategy to creating the enterprise architecture to taking a leadership role by defining the goals and requirements for programs and projects, or supporting continuous improvement in its technology, processes, and products. The BA of the future, or perhaps if we were looking at a job description or job ad, it would read enterprise BA or business architect, is all about strategic value creation through innovative business solutions and breakthrough capabilities. The role will be involved in complex enterprise change initiatives and should understand the holistic nature of change throughout the organization, embracing business architecture, balancing analysis and intuition. These BAs may also have deeper knowledge in data, enterprise architecture, and other emerging technologies. With specialized knowledge across the business, IT and operations functions, BAs are actually uniquely positioned and can act as part innovator, part solution designer. And then finally, the no BA concept, which feels kind of strange actually saying that on an IIBA webinar when the majority of us are BAs. But this is where it's not one person's role to perform the role of business analyst. Instead, it's embedded throughout the team, enabling them to be self-sufficient and sustaining, ultimately reducing the reliance that they have on technology and IT. Like I mentioned, we'll talk through all of these in a bit more detail over the coming slides, and please do continue to share your comments and feedback as we progress. However, next up, we have our first poll. So for poll 1, we'd like to understand a bit more about you, and in particular, how much experience you have as a business analyst. As you can see there, the question is, how much experience do you have as a BA? And the options are 0 to 2 years, or I'm new to business analysis, 3 to 5 years, or I have some experience in business analysis, 6 to 10 years, I have strong experience, or 10 years plus, I'm a career business analyst. You should see the Zoom pop up momentarily, and this is just a single choice poll, and look forward to seeing the results come through. We'll give it a couple of seconds. So I just see the results coming through now. So we've got a fairly good split actually. I think we're weighted more towards career business analysts. So I think all the results are in now. I can see 10%, 0 to 2 years, 24, 3 to 5, 26%, 6 to 10, and then 40% actually, almost half of the audience today, 10 plus years. So that's great to see. And I think I think that indicates the mix of the BA community that we have, and should actually lend hopefully for a good Q&A, as we've got a lot of different experience across the attendees today. So thanks again for submitting your responses there, folks. Okay, So I think I'm now going to hand over to Olga to talk a little bit more about the traditional BA.
So at first, I'm going to cover the core attributes of a traditional business analyst, or waterfall BA, as is the alternative term these days, in terms of mindset, activities, and skills. And then I will go over those of a modern BA, so we can see how they differ and why the modern BA appears to be an organic progression of the traditional one. So starting from the mindset, the traditional BA is solution focused and emphasizes on understanding the solution requirements from the stakeholders' point of view. And the next point here refers to the traditional BAs performing in-depth analysis to make sure that every piece of the solution is clearly defined and can be thoroughly documented. And on top of that, they also try to be predictive in a sense that they rely on as detailed initial analysis as possible to meticulously document all user requirements. The activities we come across here are the process mapping, where we frame the requirements through process mapping, UML diagrams, and use cases. And the requirements that come as a result of the process mapping are then comprehensively documented. We then gain a sign-off from the senior stakeholders and then hand off these requirements to the delivery team. And moving on to the skill set, the most frequently required or even the most characteristic skills of a traditional BA are the analysis of historic data in order to identify key requirements. Then it's the adoption of a traditional delivery method, which consists of a gated sequential delivery with clear separation between functional areas and specialists. And then we also have a prescriptive and detailed writing and communication style. And this keenness of traditional BAs to maintain very detailed documentation applies to all kinds of artifacts, such as BRDs or testing documentation, etc. So if we'd like to summarize the key attributes of a traditional BA, this would be a requirements-oriented mindset with inclination for complete, comprehensive, and unambiguous requirements that are defined up front. And at this point, it's also worth mentioning that we have an environment where a change of requirements is very strictly controlled. The solutions are mostly non-negotiable, and the turnaround is usually long in order to be able to thoroughly document everything. So one of the key characteristics here is that as a traditional BA in the current constantly transforming and challenging environment, we are not moving as fast as we could potentially be. And now let's move on to the next slide to go over the attributes of the modern BA. So modern BAs must be adaptable, making changes based on feedback and on the collaboration with their customer and the delivery team. And given the changing nature of the delivery approach that modern BAs have, they need to be able to adopt a just-in-time mindset, meaning to only define the requirements as and when they are needed, rather than having them upfront defined. So let's take a closer look at this actually. The modern BAs are expected to be able to get into the customer's shoes, show empathy, empathy is key here, and always keep the product quality as a top priority. And they need to remember they're an organic part of the wider feature team, and they must be able to create synergies to capture requirements that maximize the product's value. They need to be open to change when they see it and be flexible about unexpected changes of requirements. Oh, and let me actually clarify here, as this is a common point of confusion. Being open to change of requirements doesn't mean that the modern BA does not adhere to a plan. It only means that they can focus more on ensuring the requirements meet the current business needs, even if it means updating them. So the key focus here is on getting quick feedback. And remember that changes are anticipated and are welcome at any time during the process. The requirements are visually documented for the modern BA, and they're framed through personas that represent the user groups. So here, instead of a process mapping, what we have is a journey mapping. And by that, we mean capturing the target experience that the user of the product is going to have. And the BA's responsibilities in this case aren't limited to requirements documentation, but they also cover support to the design, the development, and the testing teams, providing them feedback and clarifications as and when needed. And as for the requirements documentation, they're constantly revisited and updated and don't have to be locked until they're actually up for delivery. And when it comes to skills, modern BAs are able to interpret empirical data analytics and identify the requirements. They use modern delivery methods such as agile, design thinking, which ties back to empathy, as mentioned earlier, and lean methodology, which focuses on continuous improvement, and other modern methodologies. And the writing needs to be succinct and descriptive so that it's clear and understandable by the delivery team and the rest of the stakeholders. Also at this point, and while we're covering the skills section, I'd like to refer to a very interesting survey that LinkedIn published recently regarding the fastest growing skills for modern BAs. And according to LinkedIn Learning, the 5 most common sources taken by people whose job role in LinkedIn is business analyst and who choose to learn through LinkedIn platform are the following 5 courses. So first, we have data analytics, which makes sense as it's all about data now and all business decisions are data-driven. The second most popular course is Microsoft Power BI, which is a business analytics service that provides interactive data visualization on dashboards. Then we have business analytics as a course by itself. The fourth one is Python, which is a quite simple to learn programming language that BAs use to manipulate data and streamline workflows. And actually Python is really good. It's a really good tool for big data too. And last but not least, we have Tableau, which is yet another tool for the creation of interactive data visualization dashboards. But back to our slide here, and to summarize what we covered so far, we can observe that we have a flexible and open to changes mindset for the modern BA. We have an environment where requirements can be shaped collaboratively by the team, solutions can be negotiable, the feedback is continuous, and the turnaround is quick. So after seeing the differences between the traditional and the modern BA, Jonny will now talk about what comes next in business analysis and the other 2 categories.
Thank you, Olga. And that's actually just before getting into the content here, really interesting, the top 5 LinkedIn learning stats. I've done 3 of the 5, so I'm going to need to, I think Python is going to be next for me in terms of upskilling. So BA of the future. Now more than ever, we're seeing businesses shift rapidly in order to remain competitive in the market and adapt during these times of change, and whether it be due to mega trends like technology drivers or obviously the pandemic and COVID. So the future of business analysis is going to be founded upon the technology-driven domain that we all operate in on a day-to-day basis. BAs are therefore going to need to broaden their learning, experience, and expertise in order to remain relevant. The distinction that there once was between the business analyst and the technical analyst is now more blurred. Today, there's an expectation that business analysts have the required technical skills, not necessarily in terms of being able to code complex mainframe systems, but more so around being able to confidently and effectively communicate with technical teams and solution design. With the rise of big data, as Olga mentioned, and the relentless appetite from businesses to leverage that data in order to derive insights from customers and use it to drive business decisions, the business analyst of tomorrow should not only be able to understand the data, but also have the ability to visualize it, to use the information that the organization holds, to use it to create value. Data analysis has become a core competency for the BA. A BA who is upskilled in areas like SQL and has experience with data viz tools like Splunk at an enterprise level or Tableau, someone who has the aptitude to become a data analyst is going to be extremely attractive in tomorrow's market. And as the digital landscape continues to change and evolve, business analysts will need to keep up to date with changing and emerging technologies, industry trends, and new ways in which their organizations can leverage those to grow, to reduce technical debt and enhance end user experience. Capabilities like AI and machine learning will become commonplace across strategic change initiatives. And BAs will be expected to not only understand, but also to be able to innovate and provide strategic recommendations on where these opportunities exist for the firms that they're working in. With the advent of fintechs, I'm sure most of you know about the strong fintech presence that we have here in Scotland in particular, as well as the shift of the buy over build culture. We're seeing a step change now moving from analysis towards ongoing product customization. A BA's involvement will no longer end once the technologies have been selected and the requirements have been defined. Instead, they will act as continuous agents of change, promoting and facilitating the iterative development of products, with the business depending on their technical knowledge and experience in order to continue the product evolution. And in the post-COVID world, as the hybrid working culture becomes the norm, and we operate in the new world of reduced office space and increased remote working, BAs will need to adapt in order to affect change remotely. There will be an increased importance on comms plans and milestone setting to ensure timelines are met and the delivery expectations with their teams or with their clients are crystal clear. BAs should be equipped with the core competencies to use digital tools in order to support team collaboration, prototype creation, and the collection and sorting of data. Tools like Jira Core for task management, Miro for remote workshop facilitation, or Postman for simple API development and testing. The distinction between the business analyst, where the focus is on developing business systems and processes, and the systems analyst, who develops the technical requirements and implements the IT systems, has faded, has blurred, as I said earlier. And the BA of the future will need to adapt to remain relevant through upskilling and expanding the tools in their toolbox. So now that we've talked through the BA of the future, let's take a look at the no BA concept, or the citizen developer concept. The surge of the citizen developers and the revolution that we've seen in the last decade has been promising for businesses. You know, what enterprise wouldn't want to be more agile while reducing costs and bringing solutions to market faster? With overburdened IT functions who already have a growing backlog of digital transformation initiatives to deliver, opportunities for other solutions to fill in the gap have evolved, and the citizen developer concept has emerged. So, in one of our recent Capco engagements, we supported a client to introduce the citizen developer model within their operations team, enabling the team to become self-sustaining and drive innovation from the ground up through use of no or low code solutions. In this particular case study, it was through the use of Blue Prism, an RPA tool, which some of you might be familiar with, where operations SMEs were upskilled in order to make configurations and deploy within a fixed environment, reducing the reliance on technology teams. The citizen developer framework coexisted with the intelligent automation COE, which comprised a team of experienced Capco engineers. All that was needed was for the ops team to have the inclination and the aptitude to become a citizen developer, and together the framework was defined. The operations SMEs were able to leverage their deep process knowledge and understanding of the end-to-end systems and their business users to get projects initiated much faster. And they didn't have to wait around for resource allocation from other teams, which can often prove the bottleneck. In doing so, the team's scope and capability naturally grew and flourished as they became not only process and operations SMEs, but also able to self-organize and collectively agree on the prioritization of activities within the line of business that they operated in. The framework had enabled a reduction in time to production and the ability for the team to adjust and iterate as needed, capturing feedback from colleagues and end users in real time in order to make improvements to the solutions without impacting BAU or delivery of the future state. With governance structures around security and regulatory parameters defined by the technology teams, development can be done in confidence that the chance of inadvertently creating shadow technology is diminished, and overall operational expenses are also reduced. There are some cases, of course, where, however, this model is going to be more of a challenge, and this might be because of lack of expertise in terms of subject matter awareness or method awareness in relation to, iterative development cycles or putting applications through development, testing, production stages. It could also be due to a lack of vision, not necessarily in terms of what the users want, but rather what the application will need to become next after its first iteration, or how it's going to be maintained and evolved. Perhaps it's because of a lack of fit, even. The wrong tools and techniques have been applied to try and solve the problem. Without the subject matter expertise, as mentioned before, the citizen developer might attempt to use the same tool or approach to fix every possible problem. And whilst the tool allows you to avoid coding like a developer, it doesn't eliminate the need to actually think like one. For a citizen developer framework to thrive, the organizational culture needs to be right, and the people in the team do too. So we've now talked through the 4 categories or pillars of the BA, and we'd like to run the second poll now. Based on everything that you've heard about the traditional BA, the modern BA, the BA of the future, or the kind of no BA citizen developer concept, which one do you identify with most as an individual? And again, we'll give it a few seconds just for responses to come in, and it'll be interesting to see the split given what we had in the first poll. Oh, and I can see the responses coming in. I do see a couple of people in the chat also have asked how many people are in attendance. I think we're about above 90 from what I can see. So the responses and the percentages that I gave are a reflection of that number. So really interesting results actually here. Which BA category do you identify with most? The traditional BA, we have 16% of people identify with traditional BA. Modern BA, 57%. So that's definitely the majority of the people in attendance today. And then BA of the future, very interestingly, is 28%. That's really, really interesting to see, particularly given the fact that we have, in the first poll, understood, almost half of the people on the call have 10+ years of experience. And I think that actually speaks to, one of the earlier points that we made around the evolution of the business analyst. I would expect, and maybe assuming here, that most of the people who have 10+ years experience have potentially started in more of that traditional BA type role, and then transitioned into the modern BA one as they've progressed. So again, big thanks for your responses, everybody. We're now going to move on to the next section, which Olga will be covering, and is around the career pathways of the BA.
So as we covered by now, BAs have a plethora of transferable skills, both hard and soft, that are always relevant to the market needs and can be applied to a variety of roles. And just to provide an example, the job title of a BA can vary from data business analyst or data scientist to IT BA and quantitative analyst. So we can see that business analysts and their skills are relevant across a wide variety of domains. Plus, you will always find BAs across the board in literally all kinds of industries, from financial services and consulting to healthcare, hospitality, and application development. So what you see now on your screens is what can be a typical BA career to portray the several pathways and directions that an analyst can choose from. Just keep in mind while looking at it that quite often job titles and hierarchy levels can differ from one organization to the other. So having said this, most usually the starting career point is that of a junior BA. And at this stage, one can either focus on business analysis or steer towards a series of project management roles, starting with PMO and progressing into delivery or project manager, then lead and head of delivery. And then we have the business analysis side, which is the rest of the boxes you can see here. So a junior BA will typically progress to BA, and usually this happens after 3 to 5 years. And at that point, there are 3 career pathways. The first one that I'll mention, which is usually heavier on the tech side, is system analysis. A system analyst who wishes to move higher can then progress into solution architect and then enterprise architect. The second pathway is quite wide and focuses more on the product domain. So the options we have here are to follow the product manager path, which then develops to head of product and product director, or to become a lead BA and then a business architect. And also to become a product owner and progress up to a value stream lead. And let me clarify here that this is a term widely used in Agile methodology, the value stream lead, and refers to the person responsible for maximizing the value added to the overall product family. And then the third option on the analysis side is to focus on the Agile methodology, becoming a Scrum Master and building up experience, an Agile coach who helps teams adopt Agile ways of working and implement best practices. And of course, it goes without saying that following one of these paths at any stage in your career does not restrict you from changing course in the future. And in fact, it's not uncommon for analysts to switch from one certain trajectory to another when they want to explore new angles or build up new skills, and as we repeated earlier many times, remain relevant. And now moving on to the next section, what you see here is a recommended set of trainings delivered for Capco people in order to expand their skills and be able to tackle the ever-developing needs of our clients' projects. It's a plethora of courses that Capco offers. Here you can just see a sample of them. And they aim to cover the most up-to-date methods and tools that the BA can benefit from in order to adapt to the market needs. And as you can see, there are plenty of programs, some focusing on Agile methodology skills, such as Agile and Digital Agile BA 101 or Product Owner 101. And we have some others too, covering a broader spectrum of topics that can be beneficial and meaningful for a BA looking to enrich their skills and remain relevant, such as data analytics, machine learning, testing. We've already covered most of this earlier when talking about the most popular attributes of a BA and the most popular courses on LinkedIn for BAs. So Capco is offering all this already. And I'd also like to point out that this is a training work that we not only deliver internally, but also offer to our clients in order to upskill their people in terms of business analysis, to help them improve the experience of their workforce and enable them to focus on tech projects and in general make them more rounded business analysts. And actually the feedback we've had from organizations where we deliver this training has been extremely positive, as not only are their business analysts feeling more empowered, but also at an organizational level, they're seeing much more effective delivery on strategic digital transformation programs. And also at Capco, we've seen our clients embedding very similar learning and development programs, like the ones we use internally, based on our recommendations. And these learning and development programs are helping them be more attractive when incoming product owners or data scientists or machine learning SMEs are looking at them as a potential employer, because that way they're able to signpost the fact that they have training programs for these specialists to help them continue to develop and actively support their growth while they're with them. And at that point, Jonny will elaborate on what to take into account when building a BA community.
Thank you, Olga. We'll just skip to the next. There we go. Perfect. So, building a dynamic BA community. In the context of the client situation that we covered at the beginning, we have now helped them to identify the key traits across the primary BA types, the kind of 4 pillars that we mentioned, as well as recommendations on how to structure career pathways for their BA community and suggested learning and development plans. So we've given them all of that information and those recommendations. And the next step really is to build and sustain the BA community within that organization. And this is the challenging part. What am I going to do with all of this information? Essentially, is the position that the business are now in. The first step then is all around identification. We need the business to, or rather, as the business, we need to understand the strategic objectives that we're working towards and the vision. And most importantly, where are the gaps in the current workforce that are going to help us to achieve those goals? From here, we can begin to establish what the future BA resource mix should look like. Do we need more people with experience in techniques like design thinking and data analytics? Or is there a gap when it comes to strategic analysis? You know, we need more people with roadmap definition or enterprise state analysis experience. The business, will be able to begin mapping capability maturity by measuring through self-assessment, individual assessment conducted by the BAs, and through discussion with senior management and practice leads. Once this is established, it's time to develop meaningful and comprehensive training within in conjunction with the L&D teams, enabling existing BAs in the firm to upskill and expand their capabilities. Offering training and accreditation and aligning the BA career pathway to project opportunities and skills progression. There will also be work with the recruitment team as we put in place programs that will help to attract the best talent and position the firm as a great place to work for a business analyst at any stage in their career, in turn helping to retain and attract the best talent within the market. So we're coming at it from both angles in that sense. Empowering those in the community and giving them the opportunity to try new things, whether that be new tooling to manage and run projects or new innovative solutions to find efficiency gains for the organization, will help to maintain and encourage that innovative, iterative approach within the community. Promoting the sharing of best practices through brown bag sessions or lunch and learns, which we do quite a lot of here at Capco, will help to continue the fostering of a strong community, as well as disseminating and sharing information throughout the organization, which can be critical in terms of reducing any key man dependencies were someone to leave. What's really important here is that our BAs are given the platform to grow and to share their learnings. It's not mandated, we're not forcing people to do this, but it gives each person the opportunity to continue learning and developing by sharing diverse experiences around, shaped around a common purpose, and to network with other BAs in the organization. Empowering those in the community is fundamental to scaling the practice. To scale effectively, control and direction should be distributed, united behind that common purpose, which is aligned to the strategic business objective. The community provides the perfect platform for recognizing achievements and leveraging that success and learning across the teams, forming common frameworks or processes that can be applied universally, further helping to create efficiency gain for the business. And this entire process is both cyclical and repetitive. Understand what has worked, understand what hasn't, analyze and assess the why, and then work as a team in order to resolve those issues if they're identified and make the necessary tweaks. There shouldn't be an end result here, per se. It's constantly evolving and growing in the same way the BA role has evolved so much over the last few decades. So with that, we have come to the end of the key content of the presentation, but I would like to do a little bit of signposting just before we get to the Q&A, as we at Capco do have a very strong BA community. I think, as you saw from the stats that Sarah showed earlier on, almost half of our colleague base in Capco Scotland come from a business analyst background. So as a result, we've got a steady stream of high quality content from BAs in the field, ranging from shorter form blogs to comprehensive white papers, all of which you can find on our website or by following us on LinkedIn. I've seen a couple of messages in the chat actually about the content being shared after, so we'll certainly look to do that. Just to call out some of the specific papers, some of the recent ones that you can see on here have actually contributed to the shaping of this content. And I'd just like to take a moment to call out a couple in particular. So project to product, number 2 that you can see on the screen there, it's a really fascinating piece about how financial services firms are taking inspiration from the world of software development to move from a project delivery approach to a product management based one, where a change initiative is managed by a dedicated team that retains ownership over all aspects of the relevant product or service. And we have BAs embedded within that team. The team, much like our kind of no BA citizen developer concept, continue to run the product post-delivery, as opposed to handing over to an operations team focusing on the build, test, learn, repeat approach. So that's a really good article, which I'd encourage you to review. And then also number 4 in the list there, when what's in it for me changes to what's in it for us, actually co-authored by Olga on the call today, is centered around that collaborative mindset and the approach that's been constant throughout today's discussion about how the Capco team successfully brought together a number of siloed, geographically dispersed, remote working teams to work more closely together and share a unified vision in order to create sustained collaboration and significantly improve the ops processes. So that's enough of my promotion. With all of that covered, we're done with the presentation part of today's session. I think it's now, Sarah, time to kick off for some Q&A.
Great. Thank you, Jonny, and thank you, Olga. That was absolutely fantastic, really engaging. And I think hopefully the content was really, really relevant. We've had a lot of chat throughout, and we've also had some questions. So we have approximately 10 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, so we can hand back to Julia at the end. So for any questions that we don't get to, we will ensure that we follow up with written answers, but I'm going to get straight into it now, guys, to give us as much time. So first one, I think maybe Olga, this is probably one that you could pick up. So we've had one through that says, as someone who has worked throughout my career as a traditional BA, does the market shift towards more modern, tech-driven experience mean that my skills are now obsolete?
Thanks, Sarah. So no, this is by no means what we're trying to convey here today. The traditional BA skills are definitely not redundant. What we're saying is more about solidifying those skills that traditional BAs have and help them in terms of growth in order to be relevant and adapt to the digital age that we're living in now. And where we're seeing demand for all these new concepts like data science, machine learning, and everything else we've talked about today. And as we also mentioned in the introduction of today's discussion, the demands of both the pandemic impacted economy and employees appear to be shifting. So more and more companies now demand different skills, and BAs need to be cognizant of this and adapt accordingly. So we need to be adamant on this, that there's no doubt that traditional BA skills like communication or organization, stakeholder management, and so on, this will always be needed. What might be required here is just a pivot, just so you stay relevant and competitive. That's the key message on this.
Brilliant, Olga. And another one that's probably quite relevant. Sorry, Jonny, were you going to add?
Sorry, I was just going to add to that. I think reiterating everything that Olga has just said, I think the challenge is when waterfall or kind of traditional project methodology is used indiscriminately. You know, that is the way that we have done it. That is the way that we're always going to do it, even if you know, we're trying to move to a more digital first centered approach, and it doesn't lend itself well. You know, if I need to make changes running a waterfall project, if that's not captured in my requirements up front, then that's where the kind of problems are introduced. So yeah, absolutely.
So Olga, you mentioned pivot. So another question that I think's, you know, pretty much off the back of that, someone has asked about upskilling and reskilling. So what are some of the key attributes to build if I want to transition into more of a modern BA role from the current role?
Okay, so I'd say that this transition is essentially a two-pronged approach. The first aspect is the BA's individual effort in order to become more knowledgeable on current analytic tools and technologies, just like what we mentioned earlier, such as AI, machine learning, APIs, data visualization, or programming, as well as everything else we've mentioned earlier in this discussion. And it's critical for a modern BA to be up to speed with the continuous technological advancements and the latest innovations and all the tools in order to be in a position to match the business needs. But there's also a second part on this transition, and this second part relates to both the individual and the organization. So beginning with the BA, there needs to be a mindset shift, like we covered earlier. So this is about the BA acknowledging that their role is not only about writing BRDs and testing documentation. It's not about just creating the documents and then sticking to them no matter what, but instead being able to see how they can maximize their product value and think in a more holistically manner. For example, also embracing a more flexible and open to change mentality. And this is the key here, that their mindset should shift from a traditional, more project-based, let's say, to a requirement-oriented, to a mindset looking how to add value. And then the second part of this transition also is about the BA being supported on this at an organizational and even more importantly, thought leadership level as well. The leadership of the organization need to be actively fostering an environment that is open to learning, allowing occasional failure even, and they need to trust people and their expertise and commit to develop a culture of collaboration and shared responsibility. They need to be open in communication and open to providing and receiving feedback. And it's the adoption of this kind of traits that will ultimately lead people to evolve their own mindset at the BA level and then move towards a new approach that would be more suitable for today's environment.
Absolutely. I think it's key that the BA feels empowered. And, you know, you mentioned a shift in mindset for that particular person, it's also about a shift in mindset for leadership and for the organization, that they actually support this transition to the modern BA, if that's the way that they want to go. So Jonny, one that has come in, it was actually the first question that came in from Patrick. I think it was when you were speaking, Jonny. So interesting that user research is part of the role. In the NHS, they have this as a specialist separate role, and BAs won't condone BAs taking this role. So what is your opinion on it? User research are few and far between.
Yes, yeah. And I think it's a really interesting question from Patrick. Really I think the reality is that I don't see a situation where the BA is taking on the entirety of the role of user experience designer or user researcher. I think that what is much more likely, and what we're already seeing a shift to, is that the closer working between a UXer and a business analyst or on the research side is going to require a BA to increase their skills, their awareness, their understanding. You know, if they're, for example, a BA who is more proficient in the use of tools like InVision, when it comes to prototyping and wireframing, is probably going to be able to work more effectively with someone in the design team. And in addition to that, if they understand the kind of practices and the principles that the design team are, or the user researchers are operating based upon, then again, the fluidity and the ease of that collaboration is enhanced. So yeah, I think to Patrick's question, it's in my view, it's not a case of business analyst is going to be the one role that wears every single hat in the organization or in the kind of change space. It's really kind of going to be founded on their ability to collaborate effectively with the SMEs in engineering, in design, other kind of business functions.
Absolutely. I think it also shows, you know, the repertoire that BAs have and the toolkit that they actually have is so wide and ranging. And I know that every organization has a different view, right? So, you know, at Capco, the way we see it is quite a broad brush, and we do like our BAs to have different elements and different skill sets associated with being a BA, rather than just focused on one skill set in particular. So that is why we include user research as a key skill to, at least, as Jonny said, understand and be able to work with the relevant teams. So I think we've unfortunately run out of time, and we have so many questions, which is fantastic. So thank you to everybody. We will absolutely work with the IIBA to answer all of them. We want to make sure we get back to everybody. But yeah, unfortunately, we've run out of time. So finally, just thank you again, Jonny and Olga. It's been fantastic. And a final thank you to the team that helped organize today on both the IIBA and Capco side. So Julia, back to you, and thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, I'd like to reiterate exactly the same. I don't know if people appreciate how much preparation goes on behind the scenes to put on these events. So a big thank you to all the unseen people as well. And thank you to you for attending and giving up your lunch hour and sending in some great questions. I appreciate a lot haven't been answered, but we'll try and do these offline. And people have asked about the slides and the recording. These will go onto the past events section on IIBA UK's website. Please do give us a few days to get this done. We're all volunteers doing this. So if they're not today, please don't panic, but please do check in next week instead. So again, thank you all for your time and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.